Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant. Today, I'm going to be discussing this book, Lamentation, written by Ken Scholes. Now, I've talked about this before for other books, but I'm usually intrigued by the blurbs of praise from other authors. And I will sometimes use that praise against or for the book depending on whether I like that author. So, first off, this copy is an advanced reading copy, not for sale. It also is a signed copy and has a date on the signature. September 17th, 2008. The book is copyright 2009, so first edition January 2009, so this predates its release by a fair bit, actually. It is, like I said, an advanced reading copy, so it also has some information on the back. I'm covering up some additional information. The marketing plan says national print advertising in the New York Times Book Review, national publicity to include radio, satellite interviews, author appearances at BEA and regional trade shows, regional author signings, ARC giveaway through Shelf Awareness and PW Daily, internet publicity to include author podcasts, online interviews, and tour e-newsletter feature, extensive print advertising in science fiction/fantasy publications. And then it says on the back, for more information, contact Patty Garcia, tour publicity. And then it has some additional contact information that I'm not going to include. Then it has the ISBN. It says February 2009 at the bottom. 368 pages, 6 1/8 inches by 9 1/4 inches. I bought this at, I want to say, Capitol Hill Books in Denver back in 2022 when I was out there for my 29th birthday. This is an interesting book. I think what intrigues me the most about its setting is that it's a far-flung, way in the distant future, like post-apocalyptic. There's probably been 2 or 3 different apocalyptic events between the current era and this setting. And each time there are slight changes. It's clear that they got significantly more advanced than we ever are or have been. But a calamity happened after modern Earth became more advanced. And then this picks up in one of the medieval technology levels of civilization after a post-apocalypse after. The story opens up with a large city that is exploding. It is being destroyed by one of these mythical spells of destruction, and it is being destroyed and witnessed by a single survivor. And the city at the time served as the headquarters of a religious organization that it hoarded knowledge, but it also retrieved knowledge. It sent out archaeological expeditions to recover ancient knowledge. And an acolyte, a young man, ends up witnessing the death of this city from the outskirts of the city. And from there, a bunch of stuff starts moving into place. There is a former head of this religion. The title they use is a pope, and this pope had faked his own death so that he could live out a more simple life. But there's this former pope involved with different aspects of the story. There's a king that is seeking to use the turmoil to get rid of certain enemies, and he is being guided by another person, a financier. And so there's different moving pieces on the board. There's the Lord of the Nine Forest Houses. His name is Rudolfo, and he is in opposition to this king that is trying to take advantage of the turmoil. And between them is the financier's nth daughter. He has, I think, 60 something kids is what they discuss. And each of these children of his are effectively tools in his own machinations. And one of his many daughters is being used as a tool, both assassin and like consort, for the various needs of her father's plans. And in this case, she is expected to be the consort of the king trying to take advantage of all the turmoil is named Sethbert, and Jan Lee Tam is the name of this daughter who at the start of the story is a consort to Sethbert, but she later discovers that she was put in that position so that she could interact with Rudolfo, who is the Gypsy King, is the explicit word they use. And again, this is set on Earth, but far distant future, so it doesn't necessarily mean the same gypsies as like the Romani, but that the term is similar. And so Jan Lee Tam, Rudolfo, this Pope, Sethbert, all of these different moving pieces are effectively either in opposition to Jan Lee Tam's father or being played by him. And that's one of the really interesting aspects of this story. It's not a terribly long book, only about 360 pages, but it's a really fun story. And really, one of the things I enjoyed about it is how you discover more about the setting as you read about it. So the moon is at some point in time terraformed and settled, colonized, and they discuss in passing, mention the appearance of the moon, but also that certain things left behind by the ancients include like robotic men that are capable of great feats of strength and outward power, but also are repositories of knowledge. And so Sethbert is trying to recover as many of them as he can. It is through one of these robots, because they can only follow orders. It is through one of those robots that the city of Windweir is destroyed at the start of the book, because it is given an order to utter one of these destructive spells. And in so doing, it kind of corrupts the robot, not in an evil way, but in a way that prevents it from doing its job like the other robots. And so that robot is a separate character as well. It doesn't want to be party to all the death and destruction, but it does also want its freedom, and to secure its freedom, it needs to pick sides as well. So all these different moving parts, I thought at times it was a bit slow, and at times it really picked up, and then It tried to feel like a mystery at times, and at other times it felt kind of frustrating because some characters, they're trying to do some actions in opposition to Seth Burt or to Jan Lee Tam's father or to such and such, and in the end, what they're really doing is very openly playing into the other person's hands. So I liked aspects of it. I thought parts of it were a bit too predictable, but that predictability was fun enough. So I purchased this for $7, and I try to hold on to any autographed copies of books that I find. This is one of those books that I'm going to hold on to because it may not have been the best book. I don't like doing X out of 10 scales, but it was good enough that I don't think I'll reread it, but that I don't have any negative opinions on it. Somewhere in those average scores. So it's a fun book. It's possible it'll go on and do more. It's possible there will be more to this story if I ever read the continuations of it. But I'm definitely going to hold on to it because the advanced reading copy is a pretty cool thing. The marketing plans on the back is a pretty cool thing to find. The praise, though I'm not a fan of Orson Scott Card, I respect that he is and was a pretty popular sci-fi fantasy author, and in some groups still is. And so his praise would really help the advertising and marketing of this book. And it's just a really cool find. It does, however, do one thing I'm not a fan of, and that's it changes perspective constantly between 4 or 5 different characters. And in this case, it does it in the same chapter between paragraphs. So some paragraphs, maybe some pages, are going to be from one perspective, and it's going to jump around perspective quickly, which was better for moving the story quickly than the way some other books do it. Like, I want to say right now, the one I'm reading, Five Broken Blades, is doing that, where it's juggling perspectives, but it's doing it kind of slowly because each chapter is a different person's perspective. Same goes for Among Thieves, which I discussed a while back as well. This book has a large cast and it does have a shifting perspective, but it's doing it at a much quicker pace, and so it feels less sluggish than those books do. It feels less forced as well. But yeah, it's a good enough book. I enjoyed the $7 I spent for it. Were well spent. And I'm always happy to find a signed copy of a book, especially one an advanced reading copy is something really cool as well. So, yeah, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant.